Chadwick was attacked by a demon 23 years ago. Him and his friend were going to throw a Halloween party that started down the wrong path. Needless to say, the Halloween party never happened. Greg and his friend went to Stanley Lake High School. They were 17 years old, and this event took place on October 30th after school. He didn't believe in spirits, and he didn't want to believe in them. Greg thought it'd be kind of neat to try out the Ouija board that they bought for the party. He had no clue what powers it possessed or what the outcome could be. He just thought it'd be kind of fun, and little did he realize that the outcome could potentially be very harmful.
Turned off the lights, and me and my friend both thought the other one was moving it. And we were asking it questions, so the first thing that happened really was it started coming up with answers to questions that neither one of us would have ever thought of. Be in contact with something else because there seemed to be a conflict in the way that, one or the other of us was trying to influence the answers. And one of the questions that we asked was, how old were you when you died? And it spelled out, never born.
In the beginning, Greg still didn't believe in spirits. That didn't come until much later.
And we asked what the name was. And the name that it spelled out, neither one of us could even pronounce at first. And then we found out later, that name was actually a sklepti. He asked if it was a demon. And I know how he came to that conclusion because it had already said it was never born. And it said yes. Well, Matt was saying that we should ask it to prove itself. And I was joking around and I used some pretty bad language, but I said maybe we should tell it to go itself, And the next thing that I heard has always been really difficult for me to describe. I haven't told this story very often, so actually maybe a total of 5 times in my whole life, not including this one. But it was a sound like wind and a train at the same time. It was almost like I could see the sound. Kind of a transparent spinning ball of air. But I know that I visually didn't see it. I think that the sound that I was hearing just, kind of conjured this image in my mind of what would make something that sounded like that. And it struck me in the chest, and it felt a lot like fast pitch baseball or something like that. And like I said, I don't remember anything from that point on until I woke up at the foot of the stairs. Matt said I was unconscious for probably 4 or 5 seconds, not very long. But what he saw, what he described, was pretty chilling. When I sat up, the card table was on top of me. It was, upside down, and it was on top of me, and the legs were folded up. And the folding chairs were both laid down on the floor, folded up. And the sheet was flat on the floor with the hurricane lamp sitting on top of it, and the stack of tarot cards sitting on top of that. And the tarot cards hadn't fallen over, the hurricane lamp didn't fall over a break or anything. They were just both sitting perfectly on that sheet on the floor. And right after that, Matt turned the lights on. And he said, he ran over to me and he was asking if I was okay, and I felt fine. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest, but other than that, I felt fine. And I'd even landed fairly softly, at the foot of the stairs because it was, padded carpeting and everything. It wasn't, physically traumatic, but Matt was screaming pretty hysterically. And at that time he said he felt like he had a sunburn. And he lifted his shirt up and he had almost this perfect square that literally from his collarbone to his hips and down his rib cage, almost a perfect square where his skin was just bright red, like you'd get from a sunburn or from, belly flopping in a swimming pool or something like that. And that actually stayed with him for about 2 or 3 days too. So he said it didn't feel like a sunburn after a couple of minutes. He said initially that's what it felt like. He also felt like he'd been lifted up a little bit, and like his lungs had collapsed. He said it was in a way, physically he said it sort of felt like falling, off of 6, 7 feet and landing flat on your back, losing all your wind and everything feels jarred and you kind of see stars for a second. Me come out of that chair as if I'd been struck, literally off my feet, my butt off the seat of the chair, horizontal in the air. But he said I launched across the room way too slow. Like, I don't know if it was his perception of time or if I was actually moving that slow, but he said it took 2 or 3 full seconds for me to travel that 12 feet, about 5 feet off the ground. And like I said, I don't know if that was his perception of time or if that's what he actually saw. But I did, he did say he saw the folding chairs fold themselves up, flip over, fall down, and as soon as I flew away from the table, he said the card table flipped over, but the sheet on top of it didn't. The sheet on top of it just kind of floated to the ground like a parachute almost. And the card table legs folded up and it spun across the room and landed on top of me.
He does not remember what happened. All he knows is what he heard. So what happened that Halloween night?
So it was me and Shaylene and some other people, and we were at her house and we were messing around with the Ouija board, and then we were asking a bunch of questions and stuff, and the Ouija board didn't move until the last question, and then the question was, do you want to talk to the parents? And then it moved to yes, so Shaylene's mom and dad got on the Ouija board, and all we remember is like the candle going out and then this like deep voice coming up the stairs, like saying all of our names and stuff, and we all thought we were gonna die. So me and Shaylene just like collapsed to the floor.
Greg decided to pull a joke on Cheyenne and I. It involved a demon, and that experience has followed me for the past 3 years. Greg is traumatized by the situation. He has a hard time speaking about it now. This experience has haunted him throughout the years. How do you feel about it now?
I don't know how I feel about it now. I've come to a point in my life where I actually believe in, a higher power and that kind of thing. I don't really want to get into the religious thing, but I have gotten to the point where I'm no longer an atheist. I do believe there are a lot of things in the world that we don't understand.
Since the Halloween party never happened 23 years ago, he wasn't able to scare anyone, but Matt himself, of course. 20 years later, he finally was able to scare someone for Halloween. He finished what he aimed to do with a giant success.